Chris Matthews just took a shot at Bernie Sanders during an interview with John Kerry. Take a look.
No, but you get the wrong candidate, you might lose the whole thing. What about Bernie Sanders? Do you think he's a danger as a president, as a candidate? You're out there fighting like hell for Joe Biden. How much of danger is that Bernie Sanders, who's now leading in the polls, in the latest poll out there in Iowa, how big a danger would he be to the country or to the party, the Democrats?
Jesus Christ, man. If that's not a loaded question, I don't know what is. I mean, Bernie Sanders is going to be a danger, right? Is he a danger to the Democratic Party? Is it a danger? It's a danger. How big of a danger is he? Come on, John Kerry. Tell me how dangerous Bernie Sanders is. Jesus Christ, dude. Wow. John Kerry's response, by the way. So John Kerry at first says, well, I'm not going to get into how much of a danger. I'm not going to really answer that question, except that I'm totally going to get into it. Take a look.
Well, Chris, I made a vow to myself that in coming out here, I'm not going to be drawing distinctions between the candidates. That's up to them. They have a debate tomorrow night. And one of the reasons I think Bernie and others are criticizing him is because they know they don't have what he has, which is 8 years of experience.
Where do you stand? You voted for the authorization. How do you deal with that charge from Bernie?
Well, again, Chris, as I said, I think Bernie is striking out at Joe because he doesn't have all of the things that I just listed, the qualifications of having had 8 years sitting on the National Security Council and working as effectively as he did with countries all around the world. I think that Joe obviously acknowledged he thought because of what happened it was a mistake, but he made up for that with his leadership and the effort to try to get us out of Iraq, bring the troops home, and deal with the fake or badly interpreted, contrived evidence that was put forward with respect to what was happening in Iraq at the time. And everybody now knows that it wasn't a slam dunk. It was anything but.
Jesus, that was hard to get through. John Kerry did not sound that enthusiastic about Joe Biden, even though throughout most of that entire segment, and I've had to cut out pieces where he was talking about how Joe Biden is he's the best and he's got the best record and on the war, even though he voted in favor of the war. And look, a disaster, right? This entire segment is why corporate media is absolutely terrible. He's going to say, he actually came out and said that the man who voted, the only person that voted against the disastrous war in Iraq is somehow dangerous to the country and not as good at foreign policy as Joe Biden, who voted in favor of the disastrous war in Iraq. And by the way, you also have Libya. You also have Syria. And so you have all these, disasters, right? Under Joe Biden and President Obama. You had drone strikes, you had an increases of terrorism, things like that. So that's disastrous. And by the way, the war in Iraq that Joe Biden was in favor of was a result of the administration that lied to the American people, that gave faulty intelligence in order to start a war in the Middle East for oil. That war was a disaster for America. Trillions of dollars wasted, thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of civilians were killed. Innocent civilians, Iraqi citizens. And so if more people voted like Bernie Sanders against the war, none of that would have happened. And yet, John Kerry, how much more of a disaster is Bernie Sanders going to be on foreign policy? Can't be much worse than what we got, both from Bush, Obama, and from Trump as well. Because Trump has continued, doing these attacks, nearly started a war with Iran. Again, how can these people even be taken seriously whatsoever? They just spouted nothing but garbage. And look, Joe Biden voted for this war back in 2003. He voted in favor of it and supported it even until around 2005. And this whitewashing, this gaslighting from corporate media, MSNBC, no, it's not going to be effective because we actually do have facts. And the facts are that the Iraq vote, the crime bill, trying to cut Social Security, working with segregationists, being against forced busing for racial minorities. That is the legacy of Joe Biden. If anybody's dangerous to the country, it's Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, number one, he's going to get hammered by Donald Trump, right? And if he wins, he will continue the same status quo that created Trump in the first place, while also continuing a disastrous foreign policy that we have seen under, again, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, and the Trump administration. He's a disaster. And yet hacks like Chris Matthews are going to go around and continue smearing Bernie Sanders as some sort of dangerous radical, when in reality, most things that Bernie Sanders has said, he has been absolutely right on, and he has had a record of being right for the last 40 years. That's an actual track record to be proud of. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.